What is up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video where we get to take a look at a small little motorcycle, 125cc normal style motorcycle this time. No automatic transmission, no semi-automatic transmission, a regular 6-speed manual 125cc liquid cooled engine bike. Now this bike comes under many different names, like with many Chinese manufacturers, and I'm probably gonna make a video about why that is, at least here in Europe. But here it's called the Daytona DYMOTO 125. In the past it was called the Daytona Winner 125. It's made by Dayang, and I think Dayang call it the DY125-6A or the DY200-6A because this thing has a 200cc version. But yeah, it comes under a lot of different names, but if a bike you're looking at looks like this thing, it probably is this thing. But we're gonna take it from front wheel to back wheel and see exactly what this bike is all about. I have ridden it long distance, and there's a video on the channel that you can check out right here. But before you do that, watch this video to the end, and then you can go watch that road trip video with this very bike. Anyway, let's get started at the front. Alright, starting off at the front, let's work our way from bottom up. We got a 17-inch front wheel with a 110 section tire. They are off-road style tires, and actually I've tested them in gravel and sand. They actually work quite well. I was surprised by this. I don't know what brand they are. They, of course, Chinese bike, CST tires. We have a 276mm brake disc up front with ABS. We have a gold looking upside down fork that actually works very well. This thing is surprising, as I found out on my trip with it. Moving on up, we have a small little beak, kind of like a cheapskate GS, but it ties in the design actually quite nice. It's not over the top. We got an LED headlight with daytime running lights, and also high and low beam is LED. We've got our turn signal indicators right here. There you go, no clicking noise. And we also got a small little windshield that actually works decently well. It doesn't take the wind completely off you, but it takes the wind off your chest, and that's quite important on a long distance ride. Moving around to the side, up here we got our fuel tank, 14 liters of fuel. We got our crash protection here that actually protects the bike decently well, plus you can use this part as kind of highway pegs. We've got our regular style pegs with rubber on top. The brake pedal looks a little bit cheap, but does its job very well. The engine is a DYMOTO liquid cooled 125cc engine with 14 horsepower and about 12 newton meters of torque. It's pretty punchy. It has its power. It has quite a lot of power down low. It's surprisingly punchy. I've ridden a couple of these 125 liquid cools, and this thing feels kind of the torquiest at low RPM. I don't know if it's the low weight at about 160 kilograms or maybe the gearing, but it feels good. It feels punchy. It feels like it has some power to it. The seat is a pretty comfortable affair. It's nicely padded. It has a bit of red accent stitching here. It's about 780 millimeters from the ground, so plus it's pretty narrow, so it shouldn't be a problem reaching ground on it. We have our exhaust right here with a bit of plastic covering to protect you from the heat. Actually, this is metal. It looks kind of plasticky, like painted plastic, but it's actually metal. It looks pretty good. And we have our passenger foot pegs, which are metal and also hold the exhaust on. Moving around to the back, again CST off-road oriented tire on a 17-inch rim, 140 section on the back. 220mm brake disc in the back with ABS, of course. Moving on up, we have our turn signal indicators. We have our brake light up here. Let's give you a little bit of a demo how they all look. This bike from top to bottom is full LED, so you have no incandescent bulbs on it. And also here on the back we have this pretty awesome luggage rack that comes standard with the bike. It has 8 mounting points in total, and it's really properly sturdy. It says, I think on it, or it used to say, about 5 kilograms of weight you can put on it, but it feels like it can hold a lot more. And on the left hand side we have again crash protection. We have crash protection for the expansion tank for the coolant, which is made of metal, and I like to see that. Our gear shift lever right here, same pegs. What's interesting, this bike comes standard with a center stand and a side stand, and I really like to see that on motorcycles because it makes it a lot easier for you to clean your chain. Moving around to the dashboard area, we're gonna go handheld for this one. On the right hand side we have our kill switch, we have our ignition switch. Moving on to the left hand side, that's all we have on the right. On the left hand side we have our passing light right here, we have our high and low beams, we have our hazards, we have our turn signal indicators, and our horn. Also, the key is right here. It's a classic style key, no keyless system here. And we have a USB plug right here. Also, the dashboard is a nice LCD affair. We do have our rev counter up here, our tachometer, we have our total odometer, we can set a trip meter, we have our clock here, our speed, our gear indicator, and our fuel gauge. Also, the tank right here is nice and flat, and in terms of opening and fueling up, it's one of those affairs where you don't lose your fuel cap because it's attached to the tank, and it's very easy to fill up because it's basically a gaping hole that you pour liquid in. But I like the fact that it's flat up here, and it makes it very easy to mount a tank bag in a very comfortable way, where it doesn't sit like pushing down your crotch. It sits right here like on a table, or you can put your gloves on here. A lot of things you can put on here when you stop or when you take a break. I really like this flat spot. And that's the walk around of the bike. Not much to say really, because it's a pretty simple machine. It's a basic motorcycle, 6-speed transmission, 14 horsepower. Yes, it has ABS. Yes, it has fuel injection. Yes, it has LED lighting go around, but that's about it. It's a simple bike. You put gas in it, you turn the key, you hit the road. When this bike first came in, I honestly didn't think much of it. I said, yeah, another Chinese 125cc. But then I road tripped it. And I road tripped it on dirt roads, on back roads, and spent basically an entire day in a saddle. And frankly, this thing won me over. It's a wonderful little machine. It's pretty punchy, it's pretty pokey, it's extremely comfortable for a 125cc, and even for other big bikes it's extremely comfortable. I could easily do 10 hours in the saddle in this thing. The mirrors are good. The fuel economy, it has about 200 kilometers on this tank, on a full tank, and only 1 bar of fuel has disappeared. It still has about another 6 bars, or how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So out of 6 bars, only 1 has left the building. So I don't know what's the fuel range on this thing. It says it has a 40-liter tank, and the fuel economy is rated at about 2.4 liters per 100 kilometers. So this thing should get somewhere around 500 or 600 kilometers to a tank. In terms of seat height, like I said, it's 780 millimeters tall, and me at 175 centimeters tall, I can very easily flat foot this thing. It's stupid how easy I can flat foot it. The seat, it's not necessarily the lowest seat, but one, the suspension squishes down a little bit, and plus it's very narrow here, and so it doesn't spread your legs apart, so you would dip a toe it. No, you have your legs right here next to you, and I like the foot pegs are a little bit forward, and when you're sitting with your feet down, you don't hit your feet on the foot pegs. And then once you get in motion, it's very easy to just put them up here. Plus you have a cutout here for your knee that extends all the way here, so even the tallest riders can find a comfortable position. And it's a great bike. But let's talk about it more as we ride it, because let's get out around the city and talk a little bit about it. First gear, come on, let's go. All right, riding the little DYMOTO 125, the Winner 125, whatever, the Dayang DY125. It's an awesome bike. I've ridden it now 300 or 400 kilometers, and I've ridden it on highways, I've ridden it on back roads, on dirt roads, on no roads. I've had a lot of fun with this machine, and like I've said, check out the video where I took it on a road trip. I'll link it down below in the description. But that was a very, very fun trip on a very fun little motorcycle. And like I've said, when I first saw it, I didn't think much of it. I mean, it had like off-road style tires, but then again it had 17-inch wheels front and rear. At least maybe they should have given it a 19. It had an upside down fork, but yeah, probably some cheap Chinese upside down fork. But no, riding it off-road, honestly, the suspension, I couldn't bottom out the suspension. Now I'm heavy at 110 kilograms, but I could not bottom out the suspension because, and I did take it on some pretty gnarly roads, and I did hit a couple of bumps really hard that I thought was definitely gonna bottom out the suspension, but somehow it didn't. Somehow the suspension soaked up all the bumps very nicely. It has an adjustable shock on the back, but adjustable only for preload. It has an upside down fork up front, but no adjustment whatsoever on the fork. But somehow they've nailed the suspension. It's stupidly comfortable for such a little machine, such a cheap machine also, because it cost around 3,000 euros, a little bit over 3,000 euros, brand new out the door. And it has a couple of things going for it. Like that. It's got punch. Compared to other little 125s, this thing actually has some punch to it. And not only that, it has a high-end punch and high-end power, it also has low-end torque, because now I'm riding in 6th gear at 60 kilometers an hour, and if I want to gain a little bit of speed, there's still torque in the engine to pull me up to 80. Now granted, it's not gonna set your pants on fire, but I've ridden quite a few 125 little motorcycles, and honestly, they don't have this much punch to them. At least the sim little 125s that are 10 horsepower don't even come close. The only bikes that come close are the Zontes 125s that I've ridden, but somehow I feel, even though those have one more horsepower on paper, somehow I feel this thing a little bit better, a little bit more eager, and I don't know, it's weird. And it's not lighter than those bikes. The Zontes bikes are also about 160 kilograms, so it ain't lighter, but somehow this thing just feels better. Maybe it's the gearing of the gearbox, I don't know, somehow it just feels better. And now let's see it through traffic, because I have ridden it, like I said, on the open road. I have a video about it. Today we're gonna ride it through traffic. It's evening rush hour traffic, and I'm gonna do a big loop around the showroom. Around traffic it should be fairly okay, because the torque of the engine should help you go for gaps even if you're not in the perfect gear. The handlebar is a little bit wide and a little bit tall, because they wanted to give you that adventure stance, upright riding position, and they have achieved that. But somehow yet it still helps you navigate through traffic if cars actually give you a little bit of room. Back there I chickened out because that BMW didn't seem like it was about to give me any sort of room. And let's see what we can do here. Come on, come on, come on. Is it as good as a scooter around traffic? Of course it's not, but you know what? It ain't half bad. Plenty of turning lock on this thing, and let's see if we can thread the needle through here. Yes. And the clutch is very light and yet very progressive. I can easily feel the bite point on the clutch. We're making our way through traffic like it's nothing. And we need to change lanes, and also change gears. First and second are a little bit short in terms of gearing. I'm finding it now in the city, but it's a good thing the gearbox is nice and slick, the clutch is nice and easy. Let's see, off the line. little DY. Missed fourth gear. We got a green light, boys. We're going for it. All right, that's enough high-speed run. And the sound this little engine makes, honestly, I think the airbox is somewhere under my nutsack because the induction noise is glorious. I mean, if you don't open up the taps all the way, then yeah, it's gonna be quite quiet. But if you do, would you just listen to it growl? But if you ride normally, it's very, very quiet. I'm currently with my visor open, so you should hear engine noise. So if you ride normally, quiet. If we open up, it's that induction noise. It sounds kind of like old VTEC style cars, or cars that had some aggressive cams. Once they get on cam, like you open up the throttle and it gets on cam and it really starts sucking in air. That's how this thing feels. I don't know if it has variable valve timing. It says nothing about variable valve timing on all of its documentation. But I wouldn't be surprised if it had something like that, even if they don't advertise it, which would be weird. That, or the engine is actually quite a very decently good engine and quite pokey, quite punchy. And on some rough roads, like I've said, nothing. Somehow they've nailed it. That's the thing that surprised me about this bike when I took it on a long road trip. I thought it was not gonna be nothing special, and yet somehow it surprised me completely. I love the engine, I love the suspension, I love the seating position and the seat and the comfort of it. I could easily do 10 hours in the saddle. You can ride it standing, although for me at least it's not a very comfortable riding position because the tank is quite low and I can't get a grip on the tank. But you can do it, you can ride it standing. And yeah, let's take it a little bit on a very rough road. I know there's one down here. Very old cobblestones, and leave it in second gear. Nothing's rattling, and I know how bad these cobblestones are, and the bike is just soaking them up superbly. It has no right being this good, honestly. Well, it really has no right to be this good on a surface this bad. This is just a cheap little Chinese bike. To think you can get something like this at 16 years old, at least here in Europe. Woo! You can get something like this at 16 years old. This thing would be at home touring Europe. And I have ridden it on the highway. It can get up to 120 kilometers an hour indicated. That's as fast as I took it. Granted, it's turning about 10,000 RPM when you do that, but you can do it. Usually, comfortable cruising speed was about 105 to 110 at about 8,000 RPM. But even that's a lot for a little 125cc. Isn't this just glorious? It's like I've said, 105, 110 kilometers an hour. That's quite a lot for a little 125cc that has only 14 horsepower. And the fact that you can put luggage on it, the fact that it's supremely comfortable, it has a 6-speed transmission. It's got everything a motorcycle should have, and you can have all the fun you can have with a motorcycle at a very affordable price for something that is extremely capable, much more capable than it has any right to be. I am quite impressed with this thing. I don't know about longevity because honestly only time will tell, and no, I have not bought this motorcycle, so yeah, it's hard for me to evaluate longevity, but DYMOTO has been building motorcycles for a long time. I mean, Dayang in China has been building, I don't know, for 20, 30, 40 years motorcycles, and especially these small little motorcycles, and they know what they're doing. And at least in the Asian market, these things don't have an easy life. And if they can do well there, I'm pretty sure they would do very well in Europe here. Our roads are a lot better than they have over there, and yeah, if they can last over there, they're probably gonna last over here as well. Hello. So, great little motorcycle. If it's available in your market, and if you're looking for a little 125, then do check it out, because it impressed the hell out of me on my road trip. Check out the video of me road tripping this thing. We have off-road, we have on-road, we have all kinds of roads with this thing. It's linked down in the description below, and leave me a comment down in the description below if you have any thoughts on this bike. Have you ridden it? Have you seen it in person? What are your thoughts on it? Let me know. And thank you all so much for watching and liking the videos and subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Until next time, take care out there everyone, and ride safe. Bye.